So today we've got Orie Schiffman, Portrait's very own head of growth, walking us through free and paid marketing tools on how to best grow your med spa.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. So by way of intro, I've been at Portrait for about 2+ years, and my focus has been user acquisition. So at Portrait, there are kind of two groups there. There's bringing providers on board to join the Portrait Collective, and then there's acquiring patients, helping our providers acquire patients. So for this conversation, we're going to really focus on how do providers get more business through both free and paid channels. There's a lot you can do with free channels. And then for those that are feeling ambitious, you could dip your toes into paid tools as well and see a lot of benefit there. Okay, so to start, the most important piece is understanding where do customers find you. So we're gonna kind of take an overview of the different places where customers find you and then dive into each specific one. So social media is obviously a huge tool, aesthetic practices. Google is very important, and we'll dive into the different aspects of Google and how you really put your best foot forward there. You have review sites. So Yelp is just one giant, example of a review site, but there are several others, and there's a lot you could do on the free side to make sure you guys are buttoned up there. There's then paid social. So that is really Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. There's paid Google. So we'll get into what that looks like, and then we'll leave some time at the end for questions. Okay, so where do customers find you? So let's first talk about free. The investment here is just time. Social media is like the highest ROI tool, really. And we see most providers really crushing it on Instagram. In the last year, TikTok has also become one of the tools, kind of under the social media umbrella. We'll dive into what that looks like. For Google, there are really three things you could do on the free side of things. Google My Business, making sure your Google My Business profile is complete, up to date. There's SEO. We'll talk more about what that is. And then YouTube. Everyone knows what YouTube is, but for providers that have content, it's really useful to slowly kind of build out your YouTube page. And then finally, there are review sites. The two big ones we see our providers using, and also just kind of folks in the space, are Yelp and RealSelf. On the paid side, you'll notice it's a lot of the same tools, because really the process should be doing as much as you can, investing your time, and then using dollars as sort of a lever to take it up a notch. So for social media, for Instagram and TikTok, you have what's called boosting. We'll talk about what that is. And then you just have your traditional Meta or TikTok ads through their larger ads platform. For Google, you have search ads. So when somebody searches lip filler in my area, you can pay to appear in the search results. You have Maps extensions. So if someone searches for lip filler on Google Maps, like if you were to go do that right now, you'd see a handful of spas in your area, and there are ways to sponsor your practice so that it's prominent in those results. And then you have something called Performance Max, which is a little bit advanced, but it's a paid campaign type that you could run with Google that we've seen success with. And then finally, with Yelp and RealSelf, you can obviously pay for visibility there. We won't dive into this too much because it is pretty expensive. Bang isn't worth the buck, really. And so better to focus on some of these other pieces. Okay, so really this discussion is sort of just like a high level, and we'd love if after this webinar, you guys had other questions that we could help answer, but the goal is really to point you in the direction of highest impact with lowest effort or cost. That's kind of the quadrant you want to be in. There are tools that are low impact and really high effort or high cost. Kind of want to steer clear of those. And so as we go through, I'll kind of flag what I think these different tactics are and where they fall here. Okay, so starting with social media. I would say of all the things we talked about today, Instagram is really your best friend. It's the gold standard. Like I said, TikTok has become more popular in the last year, but really the three most important pieces are post regularly, consistency is key. So anywhere from 1 to 3 times a day will maximize engagement, and it'll also create what's called sort of the tailwind effect. So if Instagram or TikTok sees that you're posting regularly and that your content is relevant, their algorithms will also kind of give you a nice little boost. So I would just say, your Instagram profile is an extension of your business. It's a really valuable tool, and it's important to post. We see tons of bookings for folks coming through Instagram. You do have to engage with your audience though. So, part 1 is posting, part 2 is responding to DMs, and just sort of, these are your customers, right? Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that'll come through that's kind of garbage, but we see a lot of bookings coming through DMs on Instagram. And then finally, video content is really the most engaging, and it creates this tailwind effect more than static content. So to the extent that you are able to create content, even just simple stuff on your iPhone, whether it's a view of your studio, the actual work you're doing, literally just you speaking into the camera with some sort of relevant message. Video is key. Okay. Okay. Google. So Google My Business, for those that maybe haven't used it before, is sort of Google's your business landing page through Google. So in the same way folks might visit Yelp and see information about your business and pictures and videos, Google kind of has their own version. So it's just as much a representation of your practice as your website might be, or again, your Yelp profile. Make sure it's updated with relevant information and content. Make sure you're accumulating positive reviews, responding to negative reviews. It is a time investment. In this case, I'm calling it medium effort, but it's like medium or high impact. In our experience, people who are coming to you for any variety of your services, they do their homework. They check Yelp, they check Google My Business, they check, in some cases, Real Self. So it's really important that these profiles are up to date. YouTube. So like I said, if you have video content, break it up into like 3 or 5 minute blocks, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, and post it with whatever regularity you're able to. Google, similar to Instagram, will start to kind of push your content if you're posting regularly. And then folks who are looking for, say, before and after pictures, are even more excited to see video, to the extent that you have that material. And then finally, SEO content. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically what you're doing in the world of SEO is you are creating content, often like blog articles, that Google indexes. So for example, if you have something to say about something your spa offers, or a specific treatment that is cutting edge, write a blog post about it, be an authoritative sort of subject matter expert, and post these pieces of content, either once a week or once a month. In that content, you want to sort of use whatever these keywords are, and what you'll see is over time, folks will organically find you on Google, versus having to pay Google to get traffic. Okay, review sites. So on the review site side, if we're talking just sort of free, the best thing I would recommend is just making sure your profile is manicured. This is low effort. Typically, kind of just do it once. High quality information, pictures, links, videos. Doing this is sort of the low effort, sort of low or medium impact. Once you start paying Yelp or Real Self, we've found that it can get very expensive. So my advice would be just make sure your profiles are clean and sort of up to date. Okay, social media paid. So now we're kind of diving into the paid world. We consider this low cost, high reward. Specifically boosting. So basically both Instagram and TikTok offer advertisers the ability to pay for visibility by what's called boosting your post. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to identify one or several of your strongest posts. So posts that either have gotten the most likes or comments, and boost the post for 3 to 7 days. Maybe evaluate performance there before spending any more money. Now I realize this is like a whole new world for folks. We may put together a tutorial for what this looks like in the future, but boosting can cost, $15 to $20 a day. So in the world of paid advertising, it's really like the most cost-effective tool. And basically Instagram and TikTok will try to find people similar to those that have already engaged with your post. So if your post received 1,000 likes, Instagram will look at those profiles and then cast a net of tens of thousands who are similar to those 1,000 and blast your post across those folks. It's a really powerful way to then get your message to a larger audience. You'll start to see DMs from these people. And my advice would be start small, do it for 3 to 5 days, maybe for an entire week, and see what the reception is. You'll know how much you spent. You'll kind of know what you got out of that spend, and you can do the rough math and see if it's worth doing with any regularity. The boosting lives separate from your like larger meta TikTok ads. Running Facebook ads is a huge undertaking. At Portrait, we have an entire team focused on this for our providers. It requires substantially more budget. So I would say your best bet is to tinker with boosting and sort of hold off on ads unless you have dedicated resources that know how to run Facebook ads. Okay, Google paid. So this is sort of medium cost, high reward. Similar to Facebook ads, I would just keep in mind this is also a larger undertaking. It requires quite a bit of ads knowledge. What I'd like to do here is just talk about the 3 areas I would dive into if it's something you want to take on or if you have the dedicated resource. So first and foremost is search. So the most effective way to use search is you do what's called geofencing. So if your spa is in Marin, you'll set a radius. And basically what you're telling Google is anyone within this radius who searches for whatever the keywords are, you choose the keywords. So lip filler, med spas near me, I want to bid for. And so you are going to be paying for clicks. And presumably those clicks will turn into more serious inquiries or bookings. This works really well when it's set up correctly. So that's kind of number one. Number two is maps. So within the same ads platform, you could instruct Google to show your business listing when folks search in Google Maps. We see a lot of people, in the same way they might search in Google, they'll pull up maps because they're either in the car or they're curious who's nearby. And so it's as important and as lucrative to kind of make sure your practice shows up prominently there. If you go search in maps right now, you'll probably find a list of, let's say, 5 or 6 in the area, and you may see that some are sponsored. So when you're paying for these Google Maps listings, yours becomes sponsored, and it kind of like moves up in the rank, and from there you'll just get more traffic. And then finally, Performance Max is a campaign type that ties together headlines, descriptions, whatever display assets you have, video assets, into one campaign and blast your message across a lot of Google's properties. So it'll your ads will appear on search, they'll appear in Gmail, interestingly enough, they'll appear on YouTube. So this is just one campaign type. It's a little bit more advanced, but it's something we've run and we've seen success with. This is just sort of a review of what we just chatted about. Again, social media, just consistency, high quality messaging is like your best friend. We see practices literally built in 6 months time off of just the traction from social media. Getting your Google My Business account cleaned up is really important. It's sort of a free tactic. Writing content and posting it on your website as sort of a blog post, another free tactic. And then just posting your content on YouTube is free. And we just kind of chatted over the paid stuff. And then for social media, paid is also, it's effective, but in some cases it just requires a little bit of knowledge. So I wanted to hopefully have a discussion, open it up for Q&A. Again, it's a high level overview. Each of these subjects can probably we'd be able to dive into an hour conversation, but I hope this was useful for folks, and I appreciate everyone's time.
Hey, Orie, thanks so much. That was really like a really great breakdown of what to focus on. And we do have a few questions here. If anybody else has any more questions, go ahead, drop it in the Q&A and we'll review. The first one we have is, how do I know how much to budget?
Yeah, great question. So for boosting, you can get away with, I believe, $25 a day. And it's just a really fun way to test the waters. So I'd say that's the best bet. For Google paid, so for search, you can also kind of get started with $50 a day. Typically you'll need in the hundreds a day to really see traction. And then for Facebook ads, it's like, yeah, minimum a couple $100 a day. It just takes a little bit more budget for that machine to get off the ground. So I'd say boosting is the best bet to start, and $15-$25 a day is effective.
So this wasn't a question that was written in, but I think a good follow-up to what you just said. If there was an owner thinking of doing Facebook paid ads, at what point do you think they should consider? I mean, a few $100 a day, that's pretty substantial. Is there like a good metric that they should hit before they spend that, or how would they
Yeah,
figure?
so that's a great question. My advice is to just kind of be scrappy. I would max out on the free stuff. So make sure you're really putting effort into your Instagram posts, make sure you're posting content on YouTube, make sure you're writing blog articles, and see where that gets you first. Before diving into paid, what I could kind of say anecdotally is a lot of larger practices will get into paid because they kind of have that available capital. And so they're able to take that larger risk and sort of test and see what happens. But yeah, I would try to do as much on the paid side as you can, on the free side as you can.
Great. And this next question is actually quite similar. I have a new business and not a lot of bandwidth or money for marketing. What should I focus on?
Yeah. So the cool thing is I don't think you need a lot of money. Bandwidth is required. So I would focus on Instagram and or TikTok. And it requires some bandwidth. So I don't think there's anything you can do that's kind of free of effort or money. But we see a lot of sole proprietors who are super busy finding time to post on Instagram and slowly, gradually building that out. So I think that would be the best start.
Thanks. This next question, my understanding was that boosting affects your algorithm, as in it tells Instagram and Facebook that you are willing to pay for traffic to your page. Question mark.
Got it. So if I understand the question, the concern is that as soon as you tell Facebook, hey, I'm going to give you money, they may, it's kind of like an extortion thing where unless you keep giving them money, they will kind of deprioritize you. I've heard that too. We work very closely with teams at Facebook. Pretty sure that's not a thing. So I would say don't worry about it. I'd say just have some cadence of boosting. Maybe it's just one post a month. It shouldn't affect, we haven't seen it affect anything in terms of like then Facebook running after you for money.
Great. Oh, one more. What companies can manage your social media and do post content, etc.?
Good question. There are a short list of companies that will do this stuff. I think probably the best thing is for me to follow up. Jennifer and I will compile that list and probably share it with the group. And then on the paid side of things, Portrait does run paid campaigns across Google and Meta for our providers. And of course, there are agencies that do that as well. But what I'm most excited about is the free stuff. Contrary to just my role at Portrait, which is paying money to acquire users. And so Jennifer and I will compile a list of folks that sort of do manage social media. We can share that with the group.
Well, that completes the questions. And let's just do our little wheel of names here to see who's going to win a free hour with you. This is very, very generous of you, Orie. So thank you. And here we go. Big money, big money. Ashley L. Ashley L., you are the lucky winner. And we have your contact information, and we'll follow up with you to find some time with Orie in the near future. Thanks,
Awesome.
everyone.
Looking forward to it, Ashley. Thanks, everybody.